champion. That's unbelievable.
From the moment Max Verstappen first set foot in the F1 paddock, we all knew we were in for something special. He's not just another driver, he's a record-smashing powerhouse. Whether he's cruising from pole or tearing through the field like a man on a mission, Verstappen has delivered some performances that'll leave you speechless. So, what are his top 3 genius races? The ones that left us all asking, did he really just do that? Well, let's find out. Verstappen's 2020 campaign was a showcase of raw talent, tenacity and strategic brilliance. One race in particular highlighted just how exceptional his performance was, even when up against the dominant force that was Mercedes W11. It was the 70th anniversary Grand Prix at Silverstone, a race held amongst the global pandemic, and while the crowd may have been absent, the tension on track was intense. Mercedes, with Hamilton and Bottas at the helm, had been steamrolling the competition all season with their unmatched W11. But at Silverstone, Verstappen did something that stood out. Armed with an inferior car, the RB16, he didn't just keep pace with the mighty Black Arrows. He caught, passed and beat them. It wasn't just a fluke or a case of fortunate circumstance though. Verstappen's victory came down to a perfect storm of Red Bull's strategy, his own racecraft, and Mercedes struggling with tyre degradation. The first key move came during qualifying. Red Bull gambled by putting Verstappen on hard tyres in Q2, meaning he'd start the race on a more durable compound compared to Hamilton and Bottas, who were on the mediums. It was a crucial decision, especially since Pirelli had brought softer tyres that weekend after the dramatic blowouts from the previous British Grand Prix. Mercedes feared an early safety car, which didn't materialise, while Verstappen, starting on the hards, had the long game in mind. In the race, Verstappen immediately made his presence felt. As the cars jostled for position at the start, he quickly jumped Nico Hülkenberg. Meanwhile, Mercedes drivers on their fragile medium tyres were being conservative. But Verstappen wasn't about to play it safe. When Red Bull suggested he back off from Hamilton's rear, Verstappen delivered one of the most memorable lines of the season. "I'm not just sitting behind like a grandma.
Mate, this is the only chance I'm being close to Mercedes. I'm not just sitting behind like a grandma."
He was here to fight. As the laps ticked by, the strategic advantage Red Bull had built became increasingly evident. Mercedes, unable to extract the maximum from their medium tyres, were forced to pit early. When they did, Verstappen, still on his aging hards, was lapping faster than Hamilton and Bottas on fresher rubber. His ability to manage the tyres and push them to their limit was on full display. When Verstappen eventually pitted, he emerged just behind Bottas, but it didn't take long for him to make his move. Despite a slightly slow pit stop from Red Bull, Verstappen caught Bottas and breezed past him in just 3 corners.
Should take very little time to dispatch the Mercedes.
Well, Bottas has moved over to the inside. He's left a gap though for Verstappen to attack, and as they go through Brooklands, it's wheel to wheel. Mercedes against Red Bull, round the outside now at Lovefield. Verstappen has got a car length in front, and the inside line for Bottas isn't going to help him there. Verstappen is away.
Mercedes, struggling to control their tyre degradation, were powerless to fight back. The combination of Silverstone's high-speed corners, scorching temperatures and elevated tyre pressures, which was a precaution after the previous week's tyre failures, played right into Red Bull's hands. Once Verstappen took the lead, there was no looking back. On the hards for his final stint, he pulled away, extending his gap over Hamilton with each lap. By the time he crossed the line,
Couple of corners for his 9th victory in Formula 1 to win the 70th anniversary Grand Prix. Verstappen gives Red Bull the win.
Verstappen had built an 11.3 second lead over the 7-time world champion, leaving Bottas trailing in third and lamenting his middle stint strategy.
Verstappen, congratulations! Here's the trophy.
That day, it wasn't just about beating Mercedes, it was about dismantling their dominance, showing that even with a slower car, Verstappen had the skill and the strategic acumen to take them on. Max outsmarted, outdrove, and outlasted the best in the world. There'd have to be a compelling reason not to rank Max Verstappen's win at Spa-Francorchamps during his 2022 title charge as the best drive of his career. even Verstappen himself chose this victory as his standout performance on his way to securing his second championship, and for good reason. It was a race where the combined threat of Ferrari and Charles Leclerc collapsed, leaving Verstappen free to showcase his raw talent and dominance. Starting from 13th on the grid, technically 14th but promoted due to Pierre Gasly's pre-race issues, Verstappen was already on the back foot, thanks to a grid penalty for swapping out critical components like his gearbox, energy store, control electronics and internal combustion engine. He wasn't alone in his penalty woes, as Leclerc also found himself further back after similar changes. But even from this disadvantaged position, Verstappen's intentions were clear from the moment the lights went out. Right from the first corner, Verstappen got to work, muscling his way up 3 places. Following a brief safety car period, Verstappen unleashed his full potential. When the race resumed, it didn't take long for him to slice through the midfield like a hot knife through butter. By lap 8 of the 44-lap race, he was already sitting comfortably on the podium, having made light work of the mid-pack. But his first real challenge came when he encountered his teammate, Sergio Perez. Unlike the midfield cars he dispatched with ease, Perez put up more of a fight. It wasn't until lap 12 that Verstappen finally passed Perez, using Red Bull's superior straight-line speed and the slipstream to his advantage. What was particularly impressive about this moment was that, despite starting on soft tyres, Verstappen had managed to make them last longer than Perez's mediums. After pitting, Verstappen's next target was Carlos Sainz, who had led the race from the start. But by the time Verstappen caught up, Sainz was no match. The Dutchman breezed past him and never looked back.
Guess what? The DRS has been powerful. Guess what? I rather think Max Verstappen is about to retake the lead, and this time not because of any pit stop for the Ferrari, but because of the pace of the Red Bull. Here it comes, Max Verstappen into the Combe chicane.
Claiming his 29th career win with an air of inevitability. It wasn't just a victory, it was a masterclass in controlled aggression and race management. However, as dominant as Verstappen was that day, one of the reasons this race doesn't sit at the very top of his all-time best drives is because of the lack of true competition. Ferrari's Leclerc, who had also been penalised and was fighting his way up the order, suffered a setback after picking up a piece of debris in the form of a visor tear-off, likely from Verstappen himself on the opening lap. The debris damaged his car and derailed any hopes Leclerc had of mounting a serious challenge. Without Leclerc in the mix and with Sainz unable to keep up, Verstappen cruised to victory largely untroubled. But make no mistake, Verstappen's 2022 Spa victory was nothing short of spectacular. This race, held at the Red Bull Ring in Spielberg, Austria, was a roller coaster of emotions that kept fans on the edge of their seats from start to finish. The weekend started promisingly for Verstappen. He qualified in 3rd place, giving him a strong starting position for the race. Hopes were high in the Red Bull garage, as this was their home race and Verstappen had won here the previous year. However, as the 5 red lights went out to start the race, disaster struck. Verstappen's anti-stall system kicked in, causing him to bog down off the line. Cars streamed past him as he struggled to get going. By the time he reached the first corner, Verstappen had dropped all the way down to 8th place. It was a gut-wrenching moment for both the driver and his team. But Verstappen is not one to give up easily. As he settled into the race, he began to formulate his comeback plan. The first few laps were crucial. He needed to stay close to the pack ahead while managing his tyres carefully. Verstappen showed remarkable patience, biding his time and waiting for the right moments to strike. As the race progressed, Verstappen's exceptional tyre management skills came to the fore. While other drivers began to struggle with tyre wear, Verstappen's rubber remained in good condition. This allowed him to maintain a consistently strong pace throughout the race. His first major move came when he overtook Sebastian Vettel's Ferrari. It was a clean, precise pass that showcased Verstappen's ability to spot and exploit even the smallest of opportunities. This move energized both Verstappen and the crowd, setting the tone for what was to come. Next in his sights was Valtteri Bottas in the Mercedes. When the opportunity came, Verstappen pounced, executing a brilliant overtake to claim 2nd place. Now, only Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari stood between Verstappen and victory. Leclerc, who had led from the start, had driven a flawless race up to this point, but Verstappen was on a mission. Lap by lap, he closed the gap, his Red Bull seeming to get faster as the race went on. With just a few laps remaining, Verstappen made his move. The 2 young stars went wheel to wheel, with Verstappen Verstappen ultimately coming out ahead. It was a hard but fair move, the kind of racing that fans love to see. Leclerc tried to fight back, but Verstappen's pace was simply too strong. As the checkered flag waved, it was Verstappen who crossed the line first, completing one of the most remarkable comebacks in recent Formula One history. The victory was not without controversy. The stewards investigated Verstappen's pass on Leclerc for potentially dangerous driving. After a tense few hours, the stewards ruled that it was a racing incident, confirming Verstappen's victory. This race highlighted all of Verstappen's best qualities as a driver. His ability to stay calm under pressure, even after a poor start, was remarkable. His tyre management throughout the race was masterful, allowing him to push hard when it mattered most. His overtaking skills were on full display, with clean, decisive moves on some of the best drivers in the world. From 8th place to the top step of the podium, it was a drive that will be talked about for years to come. Now, you know what else will be talked about for years to come? The jaw-dropping winning margins Max Verstappen has pulled off in some of his races. Curious just how big those gaps are? Well, check out this video.